See the new cast of The Running Man side by side with the stars of the original 1987 hit. Glen Powell is playing Ben Richards in The Running Man, taking on a role first played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. When Glen Powell took on the role of Ben Richards in the 2025 adaptation of The Running Man, he did so with the approval of Arnold Schwarzenegger, the first actor to play the character. Arnold gave us his blessing. Powell told people in April 2025, his son, Patrick Schwarzenegger, is a great friend of mine, and I asked Patrick if I could talk to Arnold, and I hadn't seen Arnold since we shot Expendables in Bulgaria. The new take on The Running Man hit theaters November 14th, and also stars Colman Domingo, Josh Brolin, Michael Cera, Jamie Lawson, Lee Pace, Katie O'Brien, William H. Macy, Emilia Jones, and Daniel Ezra. Before the newest adaptation, The Running Man was made into the original blockbuster movie in 1987. The original film, which was directed by Paul Michael Glaser and loosely based on a book by Stephen King, starred Schwarzenegger, along with Maria Conchita Alonso, Richard Dawson, Yaphet Kotto, Jim Brown, and Jesse Ventura. However, the newer version, which is directed by Edgar Wright, will be based more on the original book than the first movie. In the 1987 film, Schwarzenegger's character must survive a group of professional killers trying to murder him in a closed-off game show. Meanwhile, the new film's trailer shows Powell's character running from killers all over the country, and not solely in a game simulation, which more resembles the fictional novel. Since the 2025 film takes more inspiration from a novel than the first, there aren't many of the exact same characters between the movies. However, there are many characters that serve the same purpose, but with a slightly different twist. The 2025 film also names several of the characters straight from the book. From Glen Powell and Arnold Schwarzenegger to Yaphet Kotto and Michael Cera, here are the original cast members of The Running Man 1987, beside the new stars of The Running Man 2025. Arnold Schwarzenegger and Glen Powell as Ben Richards, Richard Dawson and Colman Domingo, and Josh Brolin as show curators. In the original movie, Deadly Game is produced, hosted and cast by the same person, Damon Killian, Richard Dawson. Dawson, who died in 2012, acted as the orchestrator both on stage and behind the scenes in the first Thriller film. However, the 2025 film sticks more to the book by splitting that one character into two separate characters. Just like in the novel, the new adaptation features Dan Killian, Josh Brolin, as the show's conniving producer, and Bobby Thompson, Colman Domingo, as a flashy host. Both characters are named after their respective characters in the novel. Brolin described his character to EW as a guy who basically has created this show and runs this show and loves to create any scenario that he can that's going to bring more people emotionally wrapped up into the show, regardless of the consequences. Meanwhile, Domingo said that his hosting character is the most famous celebrity in the world, which is why we have to make sure he shines in every way, with his diamonds and his jewelry and his expensive Jacob & Company watch. Yaphet Kotto and Michael Cera as Richard's allies. Although The Running Man is a solo deadly competition show, Richards receives help from a few people while trying to survive the game. In the 1987 film, he receives help from friends and fellow prisoners Harold Weiss, Marvin J. McIntyre, and William Laughlin Yaphet Kotto. Both Kotto, who died in 2021, and McIntyre's roles were created for the film version and weren't included in the original book. The 2025 version loosely showed the dynamic of Kotto with Richards by bringing the book's character Elton Parakis, Michael Cera, to life. In the movie and book, Parakis is one of the few people who vows to help Richards instead of putting an added target on his back. Although he's on the quieter side, Parakis is intelligent and works with Richards to look at the game in a more critical light. He's playing a character who's in the book Elton, Wright told EW. I think what he does in the movie is a little surprising, maybe from his previous performances. It was such a thrill to be with him, and also just to see him and Glen Powell together. They're a very unlikely duo that it was really fun to witness. Jesse Ventura and Lee Pace as the lead hunter.